Good morning, everyone. If everyone could put their phones on vibrate, silence your phones, thank you. My name is Roy Cantu with the City of McAllen, and we're so happy to be here today for this great achievement by the Health and Code Enforcement Department. They'll be receiving some certificates today and their badges. First of all, I'd like to introduce some very important people. Mayor Jim Darling, who's sitting behind us. Commissioner Sebi Haddad, who's in the back of the room. City Manager Roy Rodriguez. Assistant City Manager Michelle Rivera. Judge Lauren Sepulveda from Municipal Court. And of course, the Director for the Health and Code Enforcement Department, Steve Casados, up here in front. And of course, these incredible people who do a great job for the City of McAllen every day. I like to brag about these people because they make our restaurant safe to eat for our entire families, and we're forever in their debt, so we thank them for their service. Without further ado, I would like to invite Melissa Islas to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Melissa works at the Health and Code Enforcement Department. Everyone, please rise.
Good morning. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
For the invocation, I'd like to invite from the Code Enforcement Department, Luis Estrada. Everyone, please rise, please.
Heavenly Father, we come to you this hour asking for your blessing and help as we are gathered together. We pray for guidance in the matters at hand and ask that you would clearly show us how to conduct our work with a spirit of joy and enthusiasm. Give us a desire to find ways to excel in our work. Help us to work together and encourage each other to excellence as we here in the Health and Code Enforcement Department are embarking a new thing here in the City of McAllen as we are the pioneers of this badge ceremony. And I'd like to thank the city leaders, our directors, and all of my co-workers that you keep us in your heart, Lord. And let us be mindful for those who are less fortunate than we. We ask all this in your Son's name, Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Everyone, please have a seat. I'd like to invite Mayor Jim Darling for a quick welcome.
Well, good morning, everyone. Well, it's my pleasure to be here today, and I saw they have you down for 30 minutes of speaking. We'd have to put cots out for that so you could actually sleep when you're nodding off, but I'm proud to wear my hat today. You know, I really appreciate what you all do. I started with the city actually 43 years ago this month. I don't remember what date it was this month, but I always remember code enforcement was important, but I think we only had 2 people in the office and maybe not even identified them as code enforcement. They're part of the planning department at the time. Farley, I can't remember that. Is anybody here 43 years ago in the city? So it's always been an important one, always been kind of a frustrating job, right? And code enforcement is really, when you think about it, it touches more of our daily lives of our citizens than any department in the city. All departments are important, but you guys, day in and day out, touch the lives of all of our citizens and quality of life issues, important issues, and it's not so important until you call you, and then it's the most important thing they're doing that day or involved in their life. So really appreciate all the service that you provide our citizens. I was thinking about it. who thought a year ago code enforcement would be directly involved, probably more than any department, maybe the emergency management department. It's not Jeff's busy out there right now. Any department in the whole city dealing with COVID issues. And I don't think anybody imagined that. I don't think anybody imagined us still doing it as of today, and how important it is for our citizens. And I just found out today the judge signed a new order, so now our bars can go back to being bars instead of fake restaurants. So you'll be happy to hear that, I guess, or maybe not. So we still have to do enforcement, you know, and with people drinking alcohol. It's not the easiest job in the world. But, you know, with COVID, it's really important that what you guys have done gals have done day in and day out, making sure our citizens are safe. And that's on top of everything you must do all the time. You know, I think when I became mayor, I always wanted a 311 system because I thought that's the best way. Now you have 150,000 eyes and ears out on the streets, making sure that our city stays safe, et cetera, from the environmental aspects and all that. Little did we know that it would be that successful. But one of the city managers at the time didn't want to do that because he said, we could set up the system, but we have to be able to respond to it. And that's the real challenge. And I got to tell you, it's only successful because of what you guys do. And I say, guys, I'm from New York, so what you guys do out in the field, because otherwise that would be a disaster to have people reporting with no results. And so I want to thank you personally for that. I think we have one of the strongest 311 systems in the state of Texas, if not the strongest. And that's because we do respond. And we make sure that when somebody calls, they get a response and they have confidence in their government to do that. So the other thing I thought was interesting, and maybe you didn't know this when you first came to work for McAllen, but we have more restaurants per capita than any city in the state of Texas. Our people like to eat out, order out, but do not like to cook at home, apparently. So I thought it was interesting during this latest disaster in McAllen we had last week with the weather, that I went to H-E-B, and the first thing was they had no bread and no milk, but I went to the vegetable department, and they're all the vegetables you want. You could get any, they weren't touching them. The only thing is they had little green bananas. That's about it. You know, they're short. And then I went back 3 days later, and everything was gone. So I think our citizens ate healthy, probably the first time in years this last week. But you never know what's going to happen on that. But we appreciate that. You know, it's very important to our restaurant community. I think what we've done in this department with the people in the kitchen permits and teaching people how to have safe food handling, et cetera, has really helped our community. As much as we eat out in restaurants, you know, very rarely do you hear people with food poisoning or anything else. And that's because you train the people and enforce the laws. So you do a lot of, I wonder when you first start, show of hands, did you realize when you first came to work for the city in code enforcement that you're going to have this wide variety of things to do of enforcement? Anybody who didn't think they knew, right? I didn't know what y'all did until I read this morning. I had a good idea, but it's just amazing the variety of things that you have to do and the specialty you have to do. You know, it's just not, you know, measuring the height of the grass and reading lots. It's very, very complicated. And I think people don't appreciate that. I'm so glad to see that you're getting certified and recognize not only what you do in the community, but recognize the specialty and the competence and the training that you all receive in order to get that badge and wear it proudly. So we're proud to initiate that. I don't know if many other cities have that or not. Stephen, do you know? Okay, so I mean, we're very proud. We always want to be a leader, and so we thank you for initiating that. We thank you for taking the training that's necessary and making sure that you comply with all that's necessary to wear a badge. You know, it's a big responsibility. When you go in someplace and you wear a badge, you have a responsibility to make sure the law is enforced, but also it's enforced with respect and dignity to the people you're dealing with. And so that's sometimes that's hard to do, and I understand that, but I know I have confidence that you're going to do it. You know, it's hard to breathe with a mask and jacket at the same time. So we thank you for all the various things that you do and continue to do for our citizens. And we know that, God, how many people now we have? 27? 34. Keeps going up all the time. And, you know, hopefully the COVID will get over, but especially during the COVID period, we thank you what you've done. It's really, no one expected it. No one expected this long. And, you know, quite frankly, you all have family members and you're going out in the community and interacting with people that sometimes don't wear a mask, especially on Friday nights at 17th Street and those kind of things. And so way above and beyond the call of duty. The city manager, if he had in his budget, I would get you a raise right now, but I'll leave that for him for his announcement. I'm just kidding. But you really have gone above and beyond the duty for our citizens, especially every day, but especially during COVID. Nobody expected it, nobody wanted it, and nobody wanted to handle it and deal with it, and you have done it more than anybody in the community. So thank you very much. Very proud of you. I hope you're proud of working for the city of McAllen. And when we badge you up, I hope you're proud of that badge because you've earned it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to recognize S.J. Zavala from Congressman Vicente Gonzalez's office, who's in attendance. Thank you very much for being here. I'd like to invite Stephen Casados from the Director of Environmental Health and Code Enforcement for a few remarks.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Mayor, for those kind words about our efforts with the department. Congratulations, everybody. Welcome to our first swearing-in and badge ceremony for Environmental Health and Code Enforcement Department. Elected officials, appointed officials, city management, and special guests, thank you for coming to witness this historic occasion. Let me say on behalf of our department, we are grateful for having you at this very fine ceremony here at City Hall. We express our deep appreciation for your confidence and trust that you've given us. In these unprecedented times, it is appropriate to distinguish that our city leadership in this room sets McAllen apart from other cities in our region. Environmental health specialists, sanitarians, and code enforcement officers, this is a very special day for you all. Today you join our noble profession of environmental health and code enforcement officials. You should take pride of all the accomplishments that have brought you to today. We all know what tremendous efforts it takes to be a licensed code enforcement officer and sanitarian in the great state of Texas. As soon as Mayor Darling administers the oath and hands you your badge and certificate, you are officially sworn in. With this authority comes great responsibility. Our mission is to maintain the quality of life in McAllen, preserve the integrity of real properties, ensure food safety, and preserve our neighborhoods and the community through education and enforcement of the state and city municipal codes and regulations. Today, I challenge all of you to uphold our city's core values of integrity, accountability, and commitment. As good stewards of education and enforcement of our city and state codes, we must be determined to treat all residents equally and fairly. We have the responsibility to listen carefully to our citizens as they may have ideas worthy of our attention. We must be driven to do our very best, which requires good judgment and common sense. This ceremony is another accomplishment in our department's modernization of policies and procedures, from creating and implementing standard operating procedures and fine-tuning our processes to leading the Building Board of Adjustment's substandard vacant residential housing program. We ensure the quality of life in McAllen through the efficiency of our operations. Passion is the difference between good and great. It's our great team in this room that makes the difference. We enter this profession because we want to help people and solve problems. Our code of ordinances is our tool to do that. We have a choice. We have a responsibility to provide premier customer service and strive to exceed customer expectations. I know the course I have chosen. I am confident that you will join me as you enter this noble profession. On behalf of the mayor, city commissioners, and city managers, congratulations and welcome.
Thank you, Stephen. I'd like to invite now Municipal Court Judge Lawrence Sepulveda for a few words.
Good morning. So for those of you who haven't met me yet, I'm relatively new. I actually just got sworn in about a month ago on this very stage. I'm Judge Sepulveda, and I'm the presiding municipal court judge. Most of the time, if there's any tickets that come into my court or any search warrants, I will be the person presiding most of the time. So I'm sure I'll be seeing you around. Steve invited me to talk to you a little bit about public service today and why public service is so important. So for some background, I was actually in public service before I was selected to be the municipal court judge. Since 2011, I have worked at the county level for the public defender's office and also for the criminal district attorney. So from 2011 until this year, I held a badge just like y'all. And I actually come from a family that's very steeped in public service. My dad and my grandfather collectively in Westlaco for 45 years were public servants. And so I grew up in a family where this was important and it was a priority. So when I went to law school, or when I graduated actually from undergrad, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to serve the public in some way. And so my mother was a teacher in Mercedes, came back, worked for Mercedes ISD for a year, and I saw how much our area struggles. And I knew I wanted to do something special. So I went to law school, got out, and started working for the county as soon as I got out. And I will tell you this about public service. It's not the easiest job. And for those of you who have been here for years, you know that. Former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice once said, "There is no greater challenge and no greater honor than to be a public servant." And it's true. Everyone used to tell me when I worked at the DA's office or when I worked at the public defender's office, and even now, "What are you doing in public service? You're not going to get rich that way." But for those of us who are public servants, it's not about getting rich. We get satisfaction from serving our public. We have great retirement. The biweekly paychecks are nice too. But we're not here to get rich. We're here for a greater purpose. Sometimes the job can feel thankless. And I've been there, y'all. And I know y'all have some of the hardest jobs of all because you have to go in and address issues within our community. And people, usually when you're addressing them, are not always going to be polite. They're not always going to be friendly. And they're going to hold it against you that you're doing your job. But every day, when you go out there and you make sure that our municipal ordinances and our codes are being enforced, you're saving the public. And I understand that it's easy in these kinds of jobs, when you're doing the good work and things are going smoothly, nobody really realizes the impact you're having in their life, right? They don't realize that because you came in and you said that a building was over occupancy, something bad didn't happen in that building. But when things go wrong, public servants are usually the first people they look to. And I think there's no greater example of that than the COVID pandemic in the last year. As it spiraled, you all were the department that everybody looked to make sure that the public was being kept safe. So why do we do it? Why are we public servants? Why is it important and why does it matter? That's one thing that I get asked all the time, and I still get asked, especially being municipal judge now, is like, well, who cares about an over-occupancy ticket? We care. We care because you all are keeping the public safe. You all are the department that puts people over profits. You all are the department that is making sure that our business owners out there are not putting people in danger just so that they can remain open. You protect our community and you protect our quality of life. And I know it may not seem like that to an everyday citizen, but you're making sure that buildings are built safely and to code. You're making sure that safety mechanisms in buildings are in place. And you're making sure that the food that we eat is safe. You all, please get probably a little bit more attention. And district attorneys, we have 2020s and datelines about us. But you all are really the unsung, invisible heroes of the city. Because your little acts of everyday service are keeping us safe. Thank you so much for all the hard work that you do. If I can impart a little advice, since I have been in public service for a while, I would just say, find your patience and have patience with the citizens of McAllen and the business owners. Have compassion. We are going through some very tough times right now. And I will tell you all that in the business owners that I have talked to since I've become municipal judge, the one thing I hear consistently about your department is that you all have compassion and you are willing to work with people to make sure that they come into compliance. Most of all, be kind and polite. Because while we may have people or be facing people that are upset that you're there, upset that you're giving them a ticket. You always are the face of McAllen. Congratulations on earning your badges. As I said, I used to have one, and it takes a lot to earn it, but remember that every day you have that badge, you're earning keeping it. Thank you for serving the city of McAllen and her citizens, and congratulations on your swearing in. And I'd like to close by paraphrasing President Woodrow Wilson, because he had this quote, and it was kind of amazing, but a little bit, like 1890 speak. So I'm gonna modernize it, but I just want to remind you, you're not here just to make a living. This is not just a paycheck for each and every one of you. You're here in order to enable our public and our city to live more safely and more fully, with greater vision, hope, and achievement. You are here to enrich our community with your service, and you are only impoverished when you forget your mission. Thank you all, and congratulations.
Thank you, Judge. Now I'd like to invite our keynote speaker, our city manager, Roy Rodriguez.
Mind if I take my last one? Thank you. So first of all, keynote speaker, don't take that too seriously, okay? I once was asked to speak at a commencement in Harlingen for high school kids. I was the city manager in Harlingen, and that speech was 15 minutes, so 30 minutes, you're stretching it, Stephen. Second thing is, I can't believe that you let me speak after the mayor, you, and Lauren. I mean, it's like, there's no way I can compete with that. But anyway, welcome. First, before I say anything, I really want to congratulate the leadership of this department, starting with Michelle, Stephen, for this event. Because as far as I know, we've certainly not done it here in the city of McAllen, and I don't know that any other city does this. And it's mind-boggling that that's a fact because of what these folks just told you, how important it is, the job that you do for our community. You know, one of my favorite sayings that I remind myself of is that there is no bigger act than to lay down one's life for another. And without being too dramatic here, if you think about what we have dealt with in 2020, it comes pretty close. As a city manager here in McAllen, I have had to deal with a lot of folks that are unwilling or unable, but mostly unwilling, to deal with this pandemic and to put themselves in front of this situation. And I don't blame them. And some of them are people that I have a great deal of respect for. I don't blame them, but yet it's part of what we have to do, right? As part of what we do for the city of McAllen. And you've done that. And it certainly didn't get to me. If you complained, it didn't get to me. And I'm glad to know that. But others did, you know, from other communities, and from other cities, and even from other departments. Issues came to the city manager about, you know, why am I having to put myself and my health in front of this situation? I'm going to tell you what I've said for a long, long time. Being a city employee is tough. It is really, really tough work. I love what Lauren said earlier about public service. So I'm not going to repeat those things, but working in a local government, that old saying of it's where the rubber meets the road, it is absolutely true. You know, I've had the opportunity, I've been lucky enough, blessed enough to work for a state agency, a county agency, and in partnership with a federal department. And I will tell you that there is nothing like working in local government. To be able to say that I attempt to lead an organization of some 2,000 employees and yet have people show up at my doorstep at my office and say, I need to see you, and you say, come on in, that's very, very unusual. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen in the private sector, and it doesn't happen at the county, state, and federal level. I promise you. I've been there. And so the things that you do on a daily basis is really, really tough work. And obviously, there isn't a lot of pat on the backs. And I'm not being critical of our organization, that's just the way it is. You don't get a lot of pats on the back. We try to acknowledge the things that you do. I think today is a good example of that. But it just doesn't happen. And it doesn't happen from our community. And there's a lot of reasons for that. The main one should be, or in my opinion, the main one should be something that you're proud of. It's expected of you, especially in this community. This community has a threshold of demand for services that is unlike anything I've ever seen. And so when you do a great job, which is every day, right? When you do a great job out there, whether you're in the field or in a restaurant or wherever you're at, and you do that great job and people hear about it, you know, they nod their head and they're like, yeah, of course, they're supposed to do that. It's expected of them. The level of professionalism in McAllen is second to none, and we demand it. You know, from this building, we demand it of you and every other city employee. On the other hand, when somebody thinks that you've not done such a great job, and usually they're mistaken, right? But when they think that you've not done such a great job, everybody hears about it, right? And it gets to this building, and the typical, you see, I told you about those blank city employees, usually lazy or incompetent or whatever. All of those names have been thrown at me and referring to me. Believe me, I understand that. But that's the way it is. It is really tough to continue to do a job where you know that the accolades don't come and the criticisms do. So you have to be able, as a public servant, to go home every day, this is something that I do, and remind yourself of something positive that happened in that day. Otherwise, you'll go insane, okay? Because you'll start questioning yourself as to, why am I doing this? And so for you, you know, it's reviews and inspections and code violations and restaurants and whatever. You don't have to think of an example of something that you did that day. But know this, that you are impacting people's lives in a positive way. Every day. Even the days that all you remember is the criticism. The truth of the matter is that your jobs are even at another level of what I call toughness in local government, because you deal with people's private property in many instances, whether it's people's homes that have a code violation or a restaurant, which is what we hear most of the time. So you're going into somebody's business, something that they've trained for, that they've put their capital in, that they've invested, you know, sometimes all that they have in order to have this business run in this community. And you come in, and sometimes they feel like, who is this person to tell me how to do my business? And yet here we are, right? Here you are attempting to make them better. It's kind of like the auditor that is on this floor. I always remind my staff, the auditor isn't your enemy, he's your friend. He's there to make your department better. Same thing with you, whether you're at somebody's home or in a restaurant, you're really there to make it better. But they have this, you know, this human being reaction that you're there to, quote unquote, correct them, or in some instances, cite them. But for every one of those people that think that way, you're serving 10 or 20 or 50 that will be in that establishment, and you've ensured that that establishment is safe. And so those are the folks that you've got to think about. Forget about the criticism. Forget about the questioning of why you should even enter into a business that they've put their whole life into. You're doing your job, and you're doing your job for the people that will never speak, that will never, you know, talk about the inspector that went in there and made sure that it was safe. It's kind of like, if you think about a restaurant, when you're the patron, if you go in there and the service is great and the food is great, you're probably not gonna tell anybody, right? You're gonna go home and that's it. But if you go into a restaurant and the food is bad and the service is bad and there's critters walking around on the floor, you're gonna call everybody. By the time you get from that restaurant to your house, you call your mother and your father and your spouse and your brother and your sister. That's the way life works. And that's what impacts you. That's what creates all of this feelings of nobody cares, because that's the way it happens. And so criticism is tough to take. Being a public servant, as was mentioned before, is a calling. I really, really believe that. I have had the opportunity, like I said, to work for governments at different levels. I've also worked in the private sector. Before I started in public service, I was in the private sector. My dad was a small-time contractor, and he put me to work at a very early age. And then right in the middle of my career, I went to work for an engineering firm. And believe it or not, I did it, I hate to admit it, because I thought I was gonna go make a bunch of money. You heard that earlier from Lauren. And I thought at that moment that was the most important thing. You can guess it was a mistake. It was a mistake on my part because the motivation was wrong and then the outcome was wrong. And I want to tell you something that I've probably shared with very, very few people. I think Michelle might be one of them. I left that job, and it was an engineering firm that's here locally, but it's statewide engineering firm. Very powerful firm. And obviously I'm not going to name it because of what I'm about to say. I left that firm because I couldn't do it. Not because I couldn't do it technically. It didn't meet my ethical threshold. Can you believe that? I couldn't do it. I said, you know what? This is not what I went to school for. And I left that firm, and they were like shocked. They're like, are you kidding me? You're like a rising star in this company, blah, blah, blah. I said, I just can't do it. I didn't tell them the second part, but I said, I can't do it. And I went back to public service. So anybody that tells you that integrity isn't about everything that we do around here doesn't know what we do. They just don't know what we do. And for that, we thank you. That's why we're here. That's why we're making this a big deal, because you're out there in the trenches. You're out there representing the city of McAllen. You represent city management, and you represent the people that sit here every 2 weeks, the city commissioners and the mayor. And so you do it with great pride, you do it with great professionalism, and you do it better than anybody. I think something that I know you've heard me say is how proud I am of this organization, because you're really good. There's no way that I can succeed if you don't. It's impossible. And we know that. We know that in this building. We appreciate what you do. I hope we have more events like this throughout our organization, because it's important to let you know that you're always at the top of our mind. And with the year that we've had, this is so appropriate to be doing this now, to realize the impact that you have on our community and the lives of our citizens. So thank you for what you do. Stephen, Michelle, all of the leadership of this department, thank you for doing this, giving me this opportunity to speak to you. I really don't talk that much unless you give me a microphone that I can hold. Then I'll just go on forever. Michelle says, start talking about your stories. I've got about 2,000 stories. But those stories usually are about people like you. So thank you. Thank you for having me here. It's a real honor to be here in front of you. And the best to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Now for the oath ceremony, let me invite Mayor Jim Darling to present the oath, and then we'll start with the presentations done by the city manager, Roy Rodriguez, and Michelle Rivera, assistant city manager.
I knew my glasses were here someplace. Okay, if everybody could rise, please. And repeat after me. Raise your right hand. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Texas, and that I will not knowingly receive directly or indirectly any money or other valuable thing for the performance or non-performance of any act or duty pertaining to my office, other than the compensation afforded by law. I further swear that I will faithfully discharge my duties as Environmental Health and Code Enforcement Officer for the City of McAllen to the best of my ability, as long as I'm an employee of the City of McAllen. Congratulations. This is a longer oath than the normal oaths, and so I think it just shows the importance of your job and where you are in your position to the community. I read this, and I think we ought to change ours to really get into this kind of depth, but I mean, it really does show how important you are and the responsibility that you have. So congratulations, wear that badge very proudly. Thank you.
Mayor, you're gonna go.
I'm gonna go over here.
You're gonna go over there. Mr. Roy and Michelle? Judge, you can come down here too, so you won't be up there by yourself. Mayor, right there.
We'll start.
These are organized, or we're starting here.
Okay. So the judge and Roy can.
Right there.
You can have them.
Why don't you set some time and Mr. Rodriguez as we present some view? Okay,
What are we doing?
I'm gonna call out the name. Where'd the mayor go? Yes. Alphabetically, right? Yes. Okay, we're going to get started here. Our first code enforcement officer is going to receive a badge, a certificate, and a certificate from the Congressman's office. Our first one is Jose Castillo. And they're supposed to sign. Okay. Show your badge. There you go.
I gotta get you one of those.
You got to take a test, Mayor. It's a hard one, I hear. Our next one is Anitra Champion. Very shiny. Next is Gerardo de la Rosa. Next, we have Luis Estrada. Gonna stop traffic with that badge. Next, we have Tilfred Farley. I think he's one of our original planning code enforcement officers. Okay, next we have Veronica Garza. Ronnie. Okay.
Yeah, she's an original. She, when I joined the PUB, she left. She didn't like me.
Very nice. Next, we have Robert Nava. Very nice. Next is Amos Prado. Glad you were with us today, Amos. Next, we have Marco Rivera. No relation. We have Jacob Salazar. Next is Emilio Sandoval. Congratulations. Next, we have Luis Soto. Congratulations. Next is Ruben Teo. Also one of our originals. Did I miss him? Yeah, I missed him. Gerardo Salcedo. We're playing with the alphabet a little bit there. Congratulations. Next is Samantha Trevino. Congratulations. And our final code enforcement officer is Jose Vela. Congratulations, Joe. Okay, the next group we have is environmental health specialists, and our first one there is Guadalupe Flores. Lupe? Next, we have Ricardo Rodriguez. Rick? Congratulations, Rick. And we have Gerardo Valdez. Congratulations, Sherry. We also have our newest member of the Department of Environmental Health Officer in Training, Ryan Reyes. Congratulations. Then we have 2 code enforcement supervisors. Our first one is Arcelia Canales. Congratulations, Arce. And Cynthia Soto. Congratulations. We have Assistant Director Cesar Rodriguez. This is where it gets a little tough. And we have our director, Steven Cotzaros.
Spelling is right, everything?
Just can't pronounce it. Now, of course, everything that these folks do needs administrative support, and we have some of the best administrative staff. We've been through a lot of people, and it looks like we have a really good group now. So we want to recognize our honorary environmental health and code enforcement officers, our admin staff, Maria Brieri. First. Congratulations. Forgot one. Stephanie Hauk. Congratulations, Stephanie. All right. And Cynthia Reina. Congratulations. And last but not least, our administrative supervisor, Melissa Islas. Congratulations, Melissa. Okay. Next.
Y'all can have a seat. I'd like to invite now, for closing remarks, Michelle Rivera.
Okay, so Roy thought it was hard to go after the mayor and Lauren, and now I've got to go after them. The only good thing is that I'm not having to go after lunch when y'all are going to be sleeping. So, I, like so many of you in this room, have spent my entire career in public service. Straight out of college, I went to the city of Harlingen, and Roy and several other people saw something in me that they thought I would be a good fit with their organization at the time, and it's changed my life. I have enjoyed so much my entire career has been in public service and with cities. Back in the mid to late 1990s in the city of Harlingen, I actually did some code enforcement. That was before they required you to take that test and earn those badges. And I did code enforcement. So I have a special place in my heart for you guys. I know what you go through, and it's not easy. Every day you take abuse, you get very little thanks for what you do. But I will tell you that you can tell the cities that have good code enforcement departments apart from those that don't, because you can see it as you drive through the towns. You can see the level of weedy lots, the junk vehicles, all of those things that so many people drive by. I can't drive by them anymore, and that was one of the things in Harlingen that drove me crazy. You could never turn it off. You couldn't go anywhere on a weekend and not see a violation and have to write it down. And okay, I'm going to have to deal with this on Monday. So I know what you guys go through, and I appreciate you. I appreciate the way you go about your job. I loved what Lauren said about having compassion, because that's what makes a successful code enforcement officer and enforcer, is when you have compassion and people know that you're not just there to bring the hammer, that you understand what they're going through, but they have to understand that you're also taking care, you're balancing the needs of our citizens. You're balancing the needs of the ones who want to live in peace, who want to live next to it, they want to maintain their property values. And you're having to be that balancing act. You're that fulcrum in the middle. And that's a really hard pressure point to be. And you guys do it well. It is difficult. No one's ever happy when they call you to complain, because they think you should already have seen it. You surely drive by their house every day, and you should know that it's there. And then when you get there, the person who's being enforced on, they don't understand the big deal. My grass, I'll get it to it this weekend, or the car, I should be able to park it where I want. But what you do is important, because it does keep our property values up. And you guys are in the public eye 24/7. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten a call, well, they're over there in the park and they're just sitting around doing nothing on my tax dollars. Well, no, I know that you guys are there using the Wi-Fi and you're inputting your cases, because your job is not in the office. Your job is out there. I know that when vehicles parked in a driveway, that's because you're on call, and you could get called at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 5 in the morning, and you've got to have that vehicle and you've got to be ready to go. But you're always in the public eye. So don't forget that. We do live in glass houses in public service, and that is one of the harder things. But you guys do a really good job about being responsible, and I really appreciate that. One of the things when I came to McAllen and I was going to be in charge of the code enforcement department, we had one director and a lot of Indians. Not a lot, not enough. And so we struggled because we just didn't have the manpower to get it done. We didn't have a lot of procedures and so forth. And so when we had an opening for that director, and we had Stephen come and apply for it, and wow, he knocked our socks off when we interviewed him. We knew right away that was the person. He had this servant's mentality, and really seemed to appreciate and be grateful for everything. I thought to myself, we're bringing this guy from Ohio. Is he going to survive? The Valley's a really different place than Ohio, but he's done a great job. I have to tell you, he's grown the department, he's grown the structure. We have an assistant director, we have 2 code enforcement supervisors. We're getting certification pays, we're getting level pays, which was something we've never been able to do for this department. And I'm so grateful for the job that he's done, and all the work that Cesar and RC and Cynthia have done, and all of you do. We can sure tell that you guys are out there doing your jobs. I don't get nearly any calls about this department anymore. And when I do, it's usually someone that I can, I ask a few questions and they'll say, okay, well, I know, but can I just have some more time? Sure. And you guys are always willing to work with them. So it's very rare that it gets to me these days. I used to take more calls for this department than all my other 7 departments combined. But nowadays, you guys are just out there shining and making the city look good. And like Roy's alluded to, we do have a very high standard of professionalism in the city of McAllen. And each and every day, you guys make us proud. So with that, I won't stand between you and lunch any longer. Thank you all for what you do, and congratulations today on your accomplishments.
As Michelle said, thank you very much, and I won't hold you from lunch either. However, I do want everybody from code enforcement to stick around for a picture with the congressman's staff with their certificate, which is the one in the folder. We're going to come up the same way that y'all did earlier and just come take a picture with her. Thank you.